Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 22nd of September. And, well, as we talked about, we've had the declining shakeout well, and even the histogram below the yellow line, something I always look forward to that really is expressed weakness. But we've not had anything from what we were talking about the other day. When you reach these key points up to 50% and the other Morganacci lines, if you don't have buyers indicated, you don't get much help. Now, in this particular case, we had a little bit of short-term buyers in the form of the steel here on the DOC pop up, and that was enough to give out some support right around the 23% line, and that pushed it back up. But still, in general, that's overall weakness, and of course, finished lower on the day significantly, and it was pretty strong from a move standpoint. We just fading continually, and then you have the little pops, and then finally, as things based, it picked up a little bit towards the end of the day, and that is what gave the strength back to it. And again, I pointed out that the NASDAQ here would be the one that would show the lead back to a recovery, and of course, the NASDAQ's move was much stronger in that it dipped down below, came back up, and finished above the close of the previous day. So that was much stronger. And that helped lift the ES in general just to hold it off. And you can see we're getting a little bit of a divergence where you have already the NASDAQ green versus the S&P, which is not. So that's where you start to get that disconnect between the market. And this shows some of the unexpected volatility in the correlation between tech versus just the broader market. And a lot of this has to do with just the uncertainty of where things are going economically. And of course, whenever you have down market days, some people think that automatically you get a retreat into metals, and that usually what happens is people close out of them and usually have to cover margin setups and that within precious metals, and that's why they tend to fall sometimes equally with the market. Not an uncommon occurrence. And in fact, we've got a dip below the red line, which you don't have on the general markets, which is even more weak for metal at this particular point. Though it's getting completely reset now with the DSC red below the negative 13. So if it doesn't fade off too much more than this, it's still in good shape. None of this is too much of a surprise. We still have positive stream all the way back down here that needs to get met as well. So given that potential for that full retrace, there still doesn't look to be major build back. That doesn't mean it's all going to happen all at once. And again, this is something we talk about. You can build these up pretty quick. A lot of times they will fall and fill in most of it pretty fast. In this particular case, with the artificial stimulus that had taken place, and now you don't have as much of it, and it's still this back and forth. Some people think, oh, maybe we're getting close to a deal. Doesn't look like a deal. No. And now you have that added division of the Supreme Court nominee, and that's just going to make it even harder for the two sides to come together on any sort of deal. It's needed. There's a lot of people that are not experiencing any type of recovery, and that's problematic. And then with the Europe, this is the strangest thing because they keep talking about this resurgence, but when you look at the numbers, yes, they're testing more and they're finding more cases, but these are not causing aberrational fill-up of hospitals. And that was the whole point of lockdowns, and that was to limit that. And sure, you're having an increase in cases, but when you look at it statistically, like in places, well, particularly in Italy, which is not having a problem, I mean, there's 100 or so cases new in any given day, but there are no hospitals that are full or anything like that because you've really pretty much gone through that population. And so this is where that disconnect between the more you look for cases, you're going to find more of them, but really the question is how many of them are severe and is your death rate increasing, and you're not seeing that. But the fear of additional lockdowns, because it's been an enjoyable aspect for governments to just really clamp down on people. It's putting a little pressure on the euro because people are saying, well, wait a minute, if we have fear, less travel, less economic activity, less mobility, and all of those things are negatives for the whole European sector in general, not just in America. You can see the huge divergence in America where those places that are more open, more active, are doing much better economically, and it makes a huge difference. This is going to cause oil to continue to bounce back and forth within this broader range, still pushing towards that 50. I think you're still going to always find support anywhere around that 40 range. Just below it is definitely going to cause others to step in to support it, either through reductions in production, or you're just going to be looking at how much of a draw there is, and is there any increase in demand, which has really been a problem. From an intraday standpoint, if we look at where we're at right now, we pushed back up to the highs from way low, and as we did that, we've had a little bit of fill back into some of these positive extremes. They go back to here, and then you just had some sporadic ones that were off the initial, so it may be a little bit longer before these little lower ones that goes all the way back to the beginning of the run up, right there around the 32.27 range. So we'll be able to mark those as well. We have above us the 32.85 range. That proved to be the resistance that we hit upon right there, and pre-market testing it again up at the peak. From an intraday standpoint, it was a powerful day, just from a broader move. I mean, you go all the way back to here, but we started with that pop, ended up clean, DOC spread, fall over of the Power Mode 2, shakeout went negative, and that led to the beginning of the decline. And then when we ended up with some of these soft buys, they were all coming off of, as you can see, the steel, not getting that reset coming back, and that doesn't happen until very late. It's like all the way back over here. And once that took place, that was when we finally started to get the beginning of some sustained upticks. And so you can see how powerful it becomes when what you're getting is every dip below, from the steel below cyan, you have weakness, and then you get the turnaround pop where it goes crosses above, you get a short burst. And it's fine to play the short burst. It's just from a broader trend standpoint, we can see even within a 5K which one has more sustainability. And it's after you get that reset that you're likely to get those bigger runs that will take you to the 100%. Otherwise, you tend to get just a little bit back and forth. And once we reach the peaks, we filled in, just the standard 50% retrace. And that lets you know when you see that. When you get to the hundreds, you move back to the 50, and then you pop back up again. That's the algos working just from their basic configuration. Institutional guys love that setup because it gives them their opportunity to move back in, and then boom, take it right back up. In this case, then we ended up with a pretty strong DOC spread again with the Power Mode 2. That led us all the way back down, and that led to the big run up, which was the start of this one that just carried us all the way back. And that was a massive move. We went from 33.22 all the way up to that 86 range. So that was significant, but easy to see. And I mean, this is what I talked about, the added volatility and range given as we move towards that October, and with the uncertainty of which side. So there's rotation, and there's buildup into what they think will be sustainable areas that are outside of politics and things like that won't be as affected as much. So we'll just continue to play what is, and with the broader market here, we've got just a lot of range, which is fantastic for opportunity intraday trade. So we'll take what we've got and keep playing with it. As always, though, I will put up any relevant charts on the Skype chat. Trade well.